Hi, and welcome to another Vocalist vlog. I'm Sofia. I'm a singer and musician and composer, creative, and well, I just do all kinds of weird things related to sound, basically. This video is gonna be about how to get some rehearsal strategies for you to practice at home, whether you are super beginner or super pro, and how you can have more fun at your practice with your choir. So this is mostly aimed at choir singers because I have the tremendous joy of conducting the IT University of Copenhagen student choir Node. And we had this after rehearsal talk, and the singers kind of the dialogue we had kind of inspired me to do this video. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a little more out of it and share it with the internet for anyone who cares about stuff that I might have to say about how you can be less frustrated and have more fun at choir practice by applying some really easy rehearsal strategies at home. So, here are my tips to make practicing less scary and more fun. Let's set the stage. First, try to remind yourself, why did you join this choir or ensemble in the first place? Why are you pursuing the joy of music? I mean, you've joined the choir presumably because you love to sing. You love to sing with yourself and with other people, and there's really something magical when lots of people come together to make music, to make a sound. Maybe you love the challenge of learning new, exciting, maybe weird material. And maybe you just love that rush you get when you go on stage for a concert and the blood gets pumping and everything's super exciting. You have your own reasons, but whatever your reason for joining that choir, write it down on a piece of paper and put it in your choir folder where you see it every time you open it up. And you use that little note to remind yourself why you do this. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. So let's go over this part. I call it reasons to practice. So why do I need to practice? Well, you don't need to, but if you don't, you're kind of playing yourself, basically. You will get much, much more out of your rehearsal time with the choir if you do practice just a little bit at home. The thing with music is that you only get better at it if you do it. Singing or playing music is like a mental and physical coordination effort. And you need to apply deliberate exercise. You have to deliberately practice to make it stick and make it become second nature, so you can just express all that joy and musicality that is inside you, that is inside all of us. So basically, the more you sing, the better you get at it. It's pretty simple. So you need to practice because you'll just make your own life easier. You'll make it less frustrating for you and your choir mates, because if you have repeated the parts from home and are secure in your part, you'll spend less time altogether repeating stuff you already learned, and you get to the fun part faster, which is singing the songs, making music, and getting that magic feeling. You know that when it all comes together and it turns in from just people doing sounds to real music. That's the magic we want to get to, and you get there faster if you practice a little bit at home. So by practicing just a little bit, you help yourself, you help your choir mates, you make it more awesome at concerts. So there's really no good reason not to, but there are lots of excuses. So whenever you feel an excuse popping up in your head for not to apply a little bit of effort to do something you really like, look at the note you wrote and put in your choir folder. Look at it and remind yourself why you do this. It's not a chore. It doesn't have to be like a marathon 6-hour practice session. It definitely doesn't have to make you feel bad. But you have to find a way for yourself to make it fun and motivate yourself. Maybe you can meet up with someone from the choir and rehearse with them. You have to figure out what drives you. And now we're gonna get into why you came here, to get into some strategies on how you can practice at home more efficiently. So, sheet music and sound files. If you can read sheet music yet, that's great. Sheet music is an awesome way of storing and relaying musical information. And if not, well, you'll learn as you go along. Not being able to read sheet music is no excuse, not practice, and it's not a hindrance for your adventure as a singer, but learning that will make your life a lot easier. That's for another video about sheet music that I might or might not make, who knows. The main point is whether you use sheet music or an audio recording, you need some kind of medium, a reliable way to store stuff you learned so you can recall it, because your brain is not a note block. So you need some type of way to recall musical information. Some conductors, like me, make sound files so that the different singers in the different voice groups can go and listen and repeat what they already learned. If the conductor does that, if your conductor does that, that's awesome. Just go ahead and practice. If your choir doesn't have that feature, you can maybe ask the conductor and your choir mates if it's okay if you tape yourself, like while you're singing a part and you're sure you got it, tape yourself so you have that little tape. Because you think you remember everything, but you really don't, because you have a million, billion, trillion other things going on in your head, and I know that all too well. I'm a professional. I live off of doing music, and I forget shit all the time. So a really good strategy is not forcing your brain to like be a bunch of sticky notes for your music stuff, but just record it, or write it down, or scribble something in your sheet music. So, practice strategies. In order for practice to be efficient, you gotta have a plan for what you do. So if you play a team sport, you have a game plan. You know what to do, when to do it, you know how much it takes to perform your best at a showdown. You can like practice throwing your ball around at home or whatever you do, and it's the same for music. The choir is an orchestra of voices, so it's a team effort. It's a team effort, and you only get super awesome, crazy results if you work together as a team. That also means preparing for the big day where the concert or recital is coming up. And, well, I have, for sake of ease, split in strategies for practicing into 3 categories that I like to split into. So I call it focused, quiet, and chaos. Focused practice. I think that's the form of practice that most people think of when I say to practice music. It's like when you sit down and take like a very specific amount of time and like say, I want to go over this and be really focused on like, how do I get this line right? How do I place my voice? How do I get this rhythm tight? Like where you really sit down and do a targeted specific goal. And that's a really great way of practicing if you're used to it. And if you're working, for example, with a teacher on some specific voice goals, and you get so much more out of your lessons and your investment if you do this type of practice. But it can take a lot of time if you're not used to it, and it can seem very overwhelming and kind of intimidating. So, and if you're like just starting out on your musical journey, it can be a little like off-putting to think of like doing that sort of very dedicated type of practice. So this type of practice is by far the most efficient one, in my opinion, but it can also spontaneously occur when you work with the other types of practice, because sometimes it's not realistic that you can make a lot of noise all the time, and that's why we have invented quiet practice. So, quiet practice is basically where you practice the music without making a sound. And it works, because whenever you repeat something, your brain will want to make it stick. And a way of doing quiet practice is listening to the file you recorded or your conductor's cue file. Just listening to it while you ride your bike or when you're having a lunch break, or just sit down and listen to it and like imagine that you sing along. That helps, trust me. You can take the sheet music, read the score, read the lyrics, try to like memorize the lyrics, repeat the sections to yourself in your head, basically going over and visualizing the song and like really, really using your ears a lot. That's quiet practice, and you can do that anywhere. You can do it when you're waiting in line for the bus. You can do it when you're like, whatever, like in the shower. You can do quiet practice wherever. And it's also something that you can use with the last type. It's called chaos practice. And chaos practice is something I got inspired by a teacher, Susanne Ørum, that I work with, and she's amazing. And she invented this, like, I don't know if she invented it, but she shared this concept of chaos practice, which basically means that you just throw in 1 minute of practice, 30 seconds, going over it once, just like whenever you have like a little bit of time, you just listen to the file, or you sing one phrase, or you revisit the lyrics, or you just do basically anything related to it. It can be like, oh, there's this choreography, step, step, jump, turn, whatever, that you have these like tiny intervals, because you will, during your day, have tiny intervals where it's like, oh yeah, I could totally go over the song. And so chaos practice is more of a focused way of just going in and like doing the music. Because the more times you repeat the thing that challenges you, the easier it will stick. So now like, now we have these three sort of categories of practice. Let's get to business and make a game plan. So, I'm going to show you an example of how you can combine focused practice, quiet practice, and chaos practice into a strategy that'll improve your performance for your big concert day. So let's start by taking ourselves and our love of singing seriously. Give yourself that gift and joy of feeling confident in the music, and share that gift with your choir mates, and share it with those listening and anybody else with your awesome voice. You got this if you practice just a little bit at home. So, let's say you have a concert coming up with the choir. Okay, there's a lot of prep work going into that for everyone. Let's be real. You rehearse with the choir maybe 2-3 hours each week. You have maybe 30, 40, 45, 60 minutes of music to memorize, and you have a life outside of choir. Like, how do you get there? So, you need a plan. Optimally one that involves that you just touch the material every day, but that's not realistic for everyone. So don't fret, we'll get to it. So, let's start by creating an overview of the material. On a scale from 1 to 5, like, I like to sort the songs where like 1 is the easiest and 5 is the most challenging one. So I get an overview of which songs need my love and attention, and the ones that are the most frustrating, that are the most difficult ones, are the ones that need the most love. So give those songs some love and put them in some piles. And you want to attack, you want to make a plan of attack here. So you pick up this really challenging song and you just look at it and go like, okay, I'm going to investigate it. What challenges you? Is it the lyrics? Maybe it's in a different language. Is it the rhythm? Maybe there's like weird impulses you have to follow. Maybe the structure is strange. Maybe there's like a really high note, a really low note. Or maybe there's just something that just you can't define, but something that makes it tough for you. And then you write that down maybe on a sticky note and put it on top of the sheet and go like, okay, this is what I need to focus on. And suddenly you can remove that sticky note because then it's not a problem anymore. Then you can move on to the next area of focus. So you make a plan for what you need to focus. So now you know what you're going to work on, now how to work on it. So let's say that the concert is coming up in a month. That's 4 weeks, that's 28 days. Is it realistic for you? Let's start, just be realistic. Is it realistic that you practice for 2 hours every day? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Is it realistic that you practice for an hour, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes? Whatever works for your schedule, the best one is the one you can stick to. So just set, start low, say 5 minutes. Let's say 5 minutes. So how do you motivate yourself? Like, oh, I have to do 5 minutes, I have to practice. No, you are investing 5 minutes into doing something you love. Look at the choir folder paper where you wrote why you joined. Remind yourself, this is what makes it awesome. So that should give you, at least hopefully, some drive to go in and do something. So I do it like this. I take some Post-its or little pieces of differently colored papers, and I write down some elements of focused practice, quiet practice, and chaos practice. And then I kind of decide, okay, I take this song. What is realistic for me that I do? So I make tiny tasks. One task could be focused, is that I sing the song and I go through it and I go back and rewind to those spots that are really challenging, and I do that for 10 minutes. That's a focused task. There's a quiet task, is to just listen to it when I ride my bike. That's a quiet task. And there's a chaos task, and that is sing along in the shower. Or ramble off the lyrics when I'm cooking dinner or something. So you have these little tasks that are fun that you can place on your board. So I take a sheet of paper, or you can take put them on the wall or write them, whatever. You can find a system that works for you. But I make this grid of 7 squares, 1 for each day in a week, and then I just place the papers. So you could have a schedule that looks something like, well, you could say Monday is your rehearsal day, then you don't need to do much, because you're already meeting up with the choir and you're working on stuff, maybe you're getting new material, so Monday is okay, that's rehearsal day. Then Tuesday, I have a focus session where I sing through the song as well as I remember it, and I sing with the recording or read the sheet music. It's Wednesday. There's a quiet chaos type task here where I'm gonna read, listen to it and read the lyrics while I have my lunch break. I'm not gonna be super focused, just eat my lunch, read the lyrics, listen to it. because on Wednesdays I'm busy, so I know I won't have time to practice a lot, so I won't get mad at myself if I don't practice a ton. So on Thursday, I'm doing the warm-up exercise that the choir leader shared, like the fun one where I do weird sounds because I know I have the house to myself. And then I'm following along with like a vocal exercise video or like singing something in the shower that's related to the choir stuff. Then we get to Friday, and that's where I just know that I'm probably gonna get stuck in traffic, so I just try to rap the lyrics. Like, not sing, just like rap along with the lyrics. It can be a really fun exercise, and I'm just gonna sit there and jam in the car. Saturday, I'm gonna have a focus session where I warm up my voice really good, and I like really work on my singing. Then I can do a quiet session where I just read the lyrics and listen along, and then I'm gonna focus and sing like it's game time, like visualizing I'm on stage and there's like lights and everybody's there and my choir mates are there and it's fucking awesome. And then Sunday, I have a focus session where I sing it through twice with a track. That's an example of how to do it. And you can put together your own schedule and structure it however you want. So the most important part is that you schedule the 5 minutes of fun, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, or however much it turns into, in a way that's consistent. Because cramming an hour of practice the day before the concert, sorry, it's not gonna work. But like intersecting tiny chunks of rehearsal at home, it's really gonna pay off. There are no shortcuts in music. There are no shortcuts in the gym. There are no shortcuts in life. So it all depends on how much you invest in it, and it will return to you as fun in the end, because you and the choir is going to have a lot more fun and a lot more efficient practice time, and thus you might even learn more material in shorter time. So take some inspiration, if you like, from the system I shared. Go out and work out your own schedule, your own system. Do it in your way and give it a shot. And if you want, you can report back with the results. And I'd be very, very interested to see what you come up with. So if you want to learn more about what I do, you can check out my website somewhere around here on the internet, or bumble around on my YouTube channel. I have a theatrical metal band as well, if you're into that sort of stuff. And get in touch if there's any questions or something you just want to chat about. All right. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Subscribe if you like to. And yeah, see you around. Go practice. Yeah.